computer games? Computer-assisted games.
I think they're great.
Just because they take the paperwork out of your hand?
Paperwork, the die rolling,
Oh, you don't like die rolling?
it's the only me. I probably don't like it because I'm a horrible die roller. I mean, I really am. I got an award when I was in the Jackson, Mississippi war game group. When I moved and left there, the group gave me an award for consistently rolling the worst dice. But no, what I really like about computer-assisted gaming is it takes all the statistics, all that, the charts and the probability, and you can concentrate on tactics and troop maneuvers. And I put the computer-assisted games I've played, and some of them are grand tactical. I've played in some that are more tactical. To me, you can concentrate on the tactics of the period. And I'm fairly well versed. I'm not an expert, but all these years, even though my rules may not reflect it, I've read all this and studied a lot of this stuff. And
bullshit. Pay no attention.
How do you spell that? D-U-L-L?
Double L. So I have a feel for tactics in the periods I'm interested in, and I've had really good luck with computer-assisted games because of that. I don't worry about the probabilities and go through all this and say, oh God, I've got to roll these dice. But I really like it. I do not have the system myself. I play it at other places. But yeah, I think that's great. And like all things, that will develop too. Because the dice and the probability charts and all that, I think most people would do something else if they could get away from it. I went through a period of some months when I was convinced you could do firing and statistics with dominoes. Those are numbers. And I went through experimenting, sitting with my troops up on a table and say, okay, these are firing here and they're this and that and their range is this and these guys are in cover, and I would figure out I never could make it workable, but to get away from that. People, there have been games that I think, if I remember through the years, where they just kind of analyze your force and this many people firing here, and they look at a chart and do something and remove casualties.
No dice at all,
yeah. That's all we're ever trying to do. The ideal war game, and you won't get anyone to disagree with that, is in miniature, on your table, whatever period, whatever you're doing, you deploy your units with objectives in mind. I'm going to hold this flank, take that hill. You deploy all your units, then you sit back and push a button, and there they go. That's what we all really want. I don't care what anybody says. To me, that's what are you doing? You're trying to defeat your opponent with your dispositions, your maneuverability, all this stuff. So why not just put it out there and in a basic framework of some kind, and then there they go. Did I put that battalion in the right place? Yeah, I should have held the town. And let it just boom, 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 boom. And I don't think a lot of people would like it. I'd love it.
No.
But the whole thing, computer assisted, suits me fine.
Okay. The most satisfying paint job, would that be the big boots you did?
Tied in that. Well, I have to think about that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, probably. Because I spent some time. I never was an excellent painter. I'm a passable painter if I take the time for it, but it would depend if I had the time or was busy, just wanted to get something on the table. But yeah, if I really like the unit and it's going to take place. But of course, I paint it because I want it to be in a game. I don't paint it just to say, gee, they look nice. It's good if they look nice, but also I want them in a game and see what they do. And the ultimate experience is your well-painted favorite unit that performs well on the table. I have this feeling that there's a mystique about this whole thing, lead soldiers and die rolling and everything else, and the spirit of wargaming and Valhalla way up there. Okay, that certain units, something happens and they perform. Units have wanted them to. Maybe it's some obscure, not too well painted line infantry in your French Napoleonic army. No matter what happens, they always seem to do all right. I mean, so in my mind, I think that there's some mystique about this that means something. Like my 24th foot that never does anything. Something's happened. Something in the ether out there, or some universal force. I don't know. But coincidentally, it doesn't always happen to be your favorite unit, but that's the fun in the mystique, I think. And because what's always so interesting, wargamers are always talking about what happened in a given battle. I think at wargame conventions, it's almost like a military reunion. We were all in the 101st Airborne at the drop behind Normandy Beach there. Because we talk about old battles. You sit around and say, you remember that game we had so-and-so when Charlie had the 4th Dragoons and he came to the bridge? I mean, that's part of the whole fun and legend of all this, you know. And that's when you hear guys not worrying about whether they've won or lost. You know, at a certain level, it's like, gee, I lost 3 games at Historicon, I only won 2. That's fun. But when you get loosened up and you talk about this little mystique about the game, the units, and all this and that, I think that's when that to me sounds fun. That's the spirit of the whole hobby. You know, it doesn't always come across, and to me that's the spirit. You sit around and say, well, was that a game you remember? And everybody does that, whatever period they're playing.
If you have a favorite win, in other words, a game that you were like, oh, I won that game, and you would tell war stories about it afterwards, you know, about
I'm really going to have to think about that. My game wins in the last few years have been pretty slim. Well, now I have a memory problem. I actually have won some games. I don't let you in all this. God, I really can't pin that down. I don't know how to answer that. Earlier we talked about the kind of win I like, you know.
Where you outthink your opponent.
Outthink your opponent. It wasn't based purely on die rolls. Geez. Sorry, I'm going to have to let that one pass. I'm sorry. Maybe if I think I'll think on that, and maybe I'll see you around the convention. It won't be on tape, but maybe we'll write some.
Okay, so that's going to have to pass on the favorite loss too, I guess. You know, the game you lost, but you had the most fun. I mean, for example, I lost a game in which I think it was me and Mormon, and I was Canadian commandos or something, and he was German guards, and it was 2 bushes on either side of this road, and I had guys in this bush and he had guys in this bush, and so instead of shooting at each other, I said, aha, I'll just get at them with the bayonet, finish this off real quick. So I picked 15 guys, and they come charging out, and this was back in the days when you wrote your orders down, and sure enough, coming out of the other bushes, 15 guys, Germans, at them with the bayonet. So we had this big melee, and there were like 2 survivors, and I think they were mine, and I retreated them back into the bush. So I said, well, I'll get him. So I brought up the rest of so I had like 40 figures in these bushes. I'll get him. I'll just send them all. So out come boiling 40 Canadians, and sure enough, out come boiling 40 Germans. Fight. I'm wiped out to a man. But I still enjoyed it. I mean, I lost. Actually, our side won, but I was without people. But I always remembered that because it was just so silly. You know, it's like, you know, we thought exactly the same thing at exactly the same time.
I should talk about that somewhere, but I can't. It's not that definitive, but somewhere I remember a Napoleonic cavalry charge across a bridge that had a gun battery at the opposite side, and it succeeded. But I don't, and it was pure luck. But it was the idea that I even attempted it. I thought, well, if I pull back to get out of here, that gun's going to clobber me. And I just took him across the bridge, and and I won. But I couldn't tell you who that was against or when it was. But that was kind of rewarding. I guess lost. I've had so many of them. I'm just going to have to let those.
Probably because of what happened. In other words, if you can remember, either could be, it was nicest table, or the scenario worked out to be just right in some way, or the players reacted in an interesting way.
Franco-Prussian game was my army that we played with the Jackson, Mississippi war game group, but we played so many down there. But it was just total enjoyment. Everything worked for everybody that played. There were some surprises, some die rolls. That's all I can say about it. I can't remember. Franco-Prussian War played, and I don't remember who was on what side, who won or lost. But that would probably be it. one of the better games. We had a whole series of them down there. Some of them just got totally skewed. They didn't work. Which is a game master's nightmare. And you studied it and researched it supposedly and tried all this, and the day you play it, nothing worked. This was one that everything seemed, there was a flow of action, and somebody did this, and the flank got turned here, and someone brought in, all the stuff we read and hear about kind of works. But again, I couldn't pin it down. Strangely enough, I've got records of all those battles, but I don't even know if I looked at my records if I could pinpoint it. I started compiling. I did it last year just for fun. I found down in my basement an old portfolio case full. I used to document every battle I ever had.
Cool.
And I found this old things from the 1950s, descriptions of battles and funny maps, some without maps. I compiled, and I can't remember the total.
Could you keep honors won by individual figures?
I compiled the total battle records I had, and I can't even remember what the figure was, Charles. I could look that up and send it to you when I get home, if it would be of any interest. And that was just recorded battles. And, through the years, there have been pickup games in somebody else's house and at a convention. I don't even have those. The only thing I've kept track of for sure was, like I told you, my Napoleonic units. If I do a demonstration game, that still goes down as and I've got Napoleonic units that are recorded and have done back in the late 50s and 60s. Some of those early students have fought in 85 recorded battles. I know that for a fact because I remember seeing that on the base. Now, they may have been repainted. They may have a different standard. They may be called something else, but those
figures.
Those lead figures have actually been on a tabletop somewhere in that one. So that's the only consistency I have. The Franco-Prussian armies, all of those, most of those battles, I have those recorded in detail with maps and disposition and who the players were. All the Napoleonic, I don't have that information. And I know you're saying you have all that. Why can't you remember your recent loss? But anyway.
No, it's entirely different. If it's written down on a piece of paper, you don't have to remember it.
Right. And of course, it's going to be worth a lot, right?
Let's see, I got $5 here.
Yeah, right.
Here's a. Do you ever run campaigns?
No.
Never.
No.
Always set piece battle.
Yeah. Don't like him.
Why not?
Because it just goes on and on and on, and then it's going to involve strategy and logistics, and I know all that exists. I've read all the books. I know how important that is, but I just don't want to get involved. I want to put some troops on the table, and I do not like any kind of historical recreation at all. Just my own personal thing. I like basically meeting engagements. Two reasonably historic armies meet, fun terrain. I spend a lot of time thinking about terrain and when I lay out a table. Because, anybody that's played long enough knows you don't want a river with 3 branches and 7 bridges and all that stuff. We all know that. So I spend some time when I'm going to do a demo game or put on a game. I spend some time thinking about the terrain, and I usually end up with a fairly simple terrain just because of we've all gone through the.
I would say the terrains are simple, but they're subtle.
I'm glad you said that. I wanted to say that's something about my rules that people tease me about, and I'm not defending my rules. Nobody has to defend the rules. We're all doing our thing. Because people have talked about my simplistic rules, but anybody that's played in any of them, I do put in a real lot of subtleties. First of all, I figure that the least details you have, the least that they can be skewed and argued.
The least you can, take out your millimeter ruler and say, aha,
You played in many of my games. I don't know if you've ever seen you've probably seen some of the rules too, but I keep those simple. They're simple, like you can do this, you cannot do that. And if it's not in the rules, it doesn't exist. Forget about it. So I really say that I sometimes have a knack for some real subtlety. People say, oh, this is real simple. You get playing, and all of a sudden they say, whatever. And I say, you got to think about some of this stuff. So anyway,
Were you in the Wally's Basement crew?
No.
Okay.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, that was the. I don't even remember what year it was. HMDS was formed out of
that. A group of somebody got together.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I mean, there's a question there for the Wally's Basement people, and so If you weren't there, then this is just okay. And one more question on this page before we get to the future.
Yeah.
Remember we talked about magically collecting people to
Right, yeah.
to play a game with. I can bring any person from history you like, and you can ask them exactly one question, and I will guarantee you that the answer will be true.
Okay.
In other words, they won't obfuscate. They won't give the party line. They won't. They won't answer your question with a question or any of that stuff. They'll give you a true answer, which will be of whatever length depends on your answer. Who would it be, and what would you ask?
And it's not because of the Gettysburg movie. For years I have pondered why Robert E. Lee launched Pickett's Charge. You know, you can read all kind of versions of it. Ego, he overestimated, he was so sure of his army, and, you know, I would love to know from him why he did it.
What answer would you expect? You just don't know, and that's why you're asking, or?
Yeah, I really don't know. You know why he. Now, see, we have the advantage of hindsight. We know about the open flanks. We know about this, and there were avenues of approach where Longstreet's corps could have stayed concealed, but it would have taken all day to get there, and all that stuff. And I'm not a student of that battle, but apparently, you know, there were enough questions offered him. See, my own opinion, I think he did it purely because of ego. I think he thought, these guys haven't beaten us, and, you know, like, he tried both flanks, and the center was weak. I don't believe that theory, that's why he went. I mean, you know, I think he just thought, I'll get it, I'm going to go right for him. And I'd love him to say,
I'm tired of this left and right bullshit, I'm just going.
And I'd love to know why, you know, why he did that.
Okay.
Now, maybe he himself would, maybe now, if you called him back from wherever he was, be able to tell you, but maybe he doesn't even know exactly why he did it. But that's always, you know, there are a lot of questions. That one is always puzzling. That one is
very interesting question.
Why he went there. Like I said, this was before Gettysburg.
I understand. No, I mean, it's been
I've wondered about that.
Well, I mean, I've read a number of books on Gettysburg, and that's really the hot topic. Everybody has an answer, and they're all different.
I know. So I would really like to know that.
Okay. All right, now let's just talk a little bit about the future. We're almost done. You're almost done. Where do you think miniature gaming is going, if anywhere? I mean, do you see a direction? Different. If it's different from today, where is it going? If it's going that way, why? You know, see a trend of some new thing that's going to become more popular,
I don't know,
or an old thing that's going to become popular
again.
I don't
know there's a trend. I think there will be more computer-assisted gaming with figures. I don't think there's I don't think there'll ever be a demise of miniature figure gaming because of the aesthetics. You can play board games that, you know, easier, cheaper, that are very historically researched, whatever that means. If you want to do, you know, if you want to play paddle games. But there's something about painted figures and terrain that will always appeal to a certain number of people. And I don't really worry how many percentage of people play. What difference does it make? You know, there are certain people that will want to do it for this reason. I think. I don't think that will change. And gaming itself, there'll always be different rules and new. And see, I don't personally think there's any original game rules.
You said that.
Did I say that earlier?
Well,
It's just a format. But my only feeling would be there's always going to be figure gaming, and I think that computer-assisted gaming who knows what they're going to do technologically with it. I mean, when you get it so everybody at the table has a little pocket something that you don't even have to tell the game master.
We'll come to this now. I don't know if you've read anything about this virtual reality stuff, where you can have a helmet on.
Yeah.
Well, the idea is you can have a helmet on that looks to you like you're just looking at a scene, and they have these magic glove things that you can feel like you're picking up something. You know, in fact, they have entire suits so that if you feel like you're walking because you're the pressure on your feet. And I thought that might be where miniature games would go. In other words, sort of a total immersion. It would be an entirely unreal experience, but you would look real. And it might be in a sort of an abstract sense, like like that book I just bought, the maps, where you have blocks of this moving here, and but no figures at all. Do you think that has a place, or do you think it's always going to be making figures?
There probably will be a facet of the hobby that will get into that. I don't think it will ever replace figures, in my own opinion. I wouldn't be interested in it just because of my time and place in life.
Okay. No, that's I mean, there are good things and bad things about that.
But I would definitely think there would be a facet of the hobby that would appeal to immediately. Now, so as far as trends, I don't really, I think there are always going to be figures. I think there's always going to be, people coming up with rules. The one thing I would like to see, and I guess I just answered, is that computer-assisted gaming does away with the dice and the chance. And as I told you earlier, that's to me always been the ponderous part of gaming.
I'm not sure I could ever convince myself that a computer could roll dice as good as me.
Well, I guess it's just that I've been lucky, But like I say, I like it because I can really concentrate on what I think I know about the tactics of the period. Assuming that this computer-assisted system is reasonably accurate based on what we think we know. That's how I feel about all rules. I'll play any set of rules, except a convention if it's so complex. It's kind of hard to get started at a convention playing. But I'll play in any set of rules, and if I assume that the rules designers, the rules writers have the essence of the historical facts of that period and the ratios and the weapon ranges, I don't feel uncomfortable in that, because I think I do have a sense of some tactics of the period. And again, that gets back to the thing people said, gee, Larry, you ought to like playing in modern war games. You're in the Korean War. I don't like to, but it's not any big war trauma thing. I don't want to bring back memories. It's not that. I'm just not interested in it.
Well, I mean, there's I've read some people who say that basically the machine gun is after the machine gun, a man is not really a master of his fate really anymore. I mean, you can say, well, you can't have a Zulu defeating a British army if the British have machine guns. You can't have you can't have a Napoleon doing what Napoleon did if the other side has machine guns. So once battle starts happening underground, once you drive men into the trenches, it's not much fun anymore.
Well, I guess realistically, if we wanted that, it never was fun, but at least
it's fun to imagine.
Oh, yeah, right.
I mean, I don't really like imagining, sitting in a shell hole in World War I while the machine guns rattle overhead and I wait to be blown up by an artillery shell. I mean, it just doesn't really interest me.
And I never even, when I'm playing Napoleonic games, I'm never even considering having your leg blown off and laying in a haystack waiting till you. That's the fun of, that's our selective view of the way we want to do it. This really makes a lot of sense if you think about it. I've had people through the years say, are you kind of a warmonger? You like all this stuff? I said, no, I don't. I said, it's a game. Yes, we're not stupid. We know people die. I said, in fact, probably wargamers have a better sense of why not do this stuff really.
Much more, a much better reading of history just because of what their interest is.
And we're not stupid. We read all the statistics. The Battle of the Somme, what was it, 160,000 British, something like
600,000 casualties for the entire battle, 60 or 100,000 first day.
We know all that. I don't want to recreate that on the table. I mean, this is a recreational hobby to me. It is not a life's work. I mean, I spent most of my life doing it, but it's a recreational hobby. Anyway.
What about, you're familiar with this brouhaha in New York, specifically about metal figures as potentially hazardous, yada, 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 yada.
Yes, I think we'll hear more of that.
Do you think anything's going to come of it?
I really don't know. I'm aware of reading the reports that have been about what's happened and where it stands, and it seems to have been thwarted right now. But somebody will come up with, let's look at this thing again. Probably the people that were defeated, because politicians and leaders and civic people don't like to be defeated. They're worse than war games. But no, I think something will probably be attempted again, and something may come of it.
Yeah, I noticed last year there were a whole bunch of pewter figures that were.
And I don't get, I've read all that, and I don't get involved in, dealers are taking advantage. I don't think anyone's taking advantage of anything. That's it. I think the chances are it'll be picked up somewhere and tried. Now, whether anything will be accomplished, I don't really know. But it wouldn't surprise me.
Price of figures. I mean, when I was a kid, last week?
Sure, Charlie. Yeah.
I personally could afford, for example, Scrooby figures. I could, go and plunk down my $20 for 50 figures or something like that. And now, $20 will buy you one, maybe. Do you think that is because just they're using? I mean, they use artisans now. I mean, guys whose whole job in life is making figures. Professional sculptors, or is it a matter that the hobby has become more affluent and so they can just charge more, or I
think, Charlie, it's probably a combination of all of it. I really defend people in the hobby who've tried to make a living or make some money at it. I don't think they're totally a greedy, avaricious bunch trying to outdo everybody, and I've never have believed that. It's just a combination of all of it. Some realistic price increases, markets. There are more war gamers. They're more affluent. First of all, it's just an inflationary thing. But I really don't think it's any kind of greedy conspiracy by a small group because they have a collective audience. I've never felt that. And, we all know dealers personally. And one of the interesting things in this hobby, all the dealers, the manufacturers, the sellers of things, because the hobby is so small, they're kind of held up to the wall. If they do something really horribly out of line, without officially doing it, the hobby group could just ostracize the hell. I'm not going to buy that stuff. So I think it's self-policing that way.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because it's not that, sure, they're not really selling to an anonymous group. You can walk up to most people in this country that are selling figures and selling things. You can walk up and talk to them.
That's true.
One of these conventions, so they can't get too out of line.
Do you think plastic figures will ever make a comeback? Plastic figures sort of arose with Airfix, and now there are these Italian guys who sell them. Do you think there will ever be a serious threat?
Someone just told me that Revell in Germany is releasing some great plastic figures. That's all I know about. I don't know. You might want to check with someone that's more. I think there could be a comeback. For starting gamers, young kids, young kids going to go out and build a war game army and pay $1.25 for a figure and $2.50 for cavalry and then paint them. So when they talk about expanding the hobby, you got to be realistic. What we have, you don't walk into this like going out and spending $25 for a board game, read the rules, and start playing the next day. This is a real involved hobby. And that by itself is self-excluding. So I think there would always be a place for some decent, plastic figures. Because we all know of this. You said you bought Airfix. The only reason I didn't buy them is because I had started Scrooge and had a bunch of metal figures. I would have bought Airfix. Certainly, and I think that's the one entry point for new people, young people. I've advised when they were available, now that some of them make them back, but I used to advise people who were talking and say, how do I get started? I say, look, they have these things called Airfix figures. Go look at them, decide whether you want to do the Civil War or whatever. And I say that's the best way to do it. How many armies do you see traded and sold all the time because a new gamer said, I want to do American Civil War, and he buys $600 worth of 20mm lead American Civil War, and then he gets interested in the Franco-Prussian. That's a lot easier to do with an Airfix arm. So I think if there is going to a rehabilitation of plastic figures, I think it would be great. I think it's a perfect. Well, Paul Cook, On to Richmond, the guy that did On to Richmond. I heard him talking, and his Franco-Prussian army is still a good portion of it is airfigs. And he plays with it regularly. So, and like I said, I've never had any aversion. I just happened to be started with something else before all the airfigs came on.
We got 2 more questions. Think 20 years in the future.
Okay.
That's far enough that we can safely say anything, and no one can call you to task. How will the hobby change? You think it'll be a different kind of people playing? I mean, for instance, would there be more women? What kind of games do you think they'll be playing? What kind of rules do you think rules are going to, is there going to be you think that simple rules are going to squash complex rules in the long run? So just say 20 years from now.
20 years from now, the faces will change.
They'll get a lot older.
Gender is probably going to be gender mix is probably going to be about the same. How long has wargaming been going on? How many female gamers? I don't think it's going to change, and I don't think it's in the nature of our genders. I think it's essentially going to. Hey, there's going to be more computer-assisted gaming, but I don't think rules. They'll probably be in better formats. Maybe your rules come on videotape now instead of thumbing through a book. It's easier to see a chart on a screen. I don't know, but the essence of it, I don't really think is going to change. As long as I've been in it, it's advanced. There's more information available on every facet of it. But the essence of the hobby itself, hasn't changed that. You could sit down with people and say, well, we didn't used to do this, or now they do this. Sure, but the essence is still the same. Look at every convention. You got a tabletop, you got terrain, and you put figures in. I mean, I'm not trying to be corny, but
you're right. I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah, you do.
It's the same. It's the same basic look, and the game's still proceeding.
Now, I always think there's going to be a separation of historical miniatures, fantasy, and science fiction, just by the nature of things. And I don't think you quote convert each to the other. It's what suits you. And like I said earlier, I have nothing against the people that do all the other things. It just doesn't interest me. And I think that's the way it's going to be. And I don't think there's going to be any great movement that the hobby can escalate and expand because of something. I don't think it will.
Okay.
My own opinion. So I think, to sum it up, I think you're going to see just different faces.
Okay. Now, last question.
Yeah.
Now look as far ahead as you can possibly look.
You have to think about my basic age. I'd be looking very far ahead.
Just think of a point in the future where things will be substantially different, for whatever reason. How would they be different?
Well, you gave me the hint of that. It will probably be some form of the virtual reality. At a given point, but probably, figures as we know them now will be collected of a quaint age. Well, I'm thinking I think it'll probably be something like that, virtual reality.
Okay.
But the species has always been fascinated by combat. I don't like that word. Combat.
Test of wills.
Yeah, that's what it is. I like that. That's good. I'm going to steal that.
That's fine by me.
And there probably always will be. And there'll be, this gets into science fiction, which is not my thing. There'll be whatever armed forces, whatever kind from different, they'll be sitting around having reunions and say, remember back in blah, 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 and they'll be talking about it. But yeah, that will be totally, at a given point, this will no longer, we're no longer going to have books, we're no longer going to have magazines and, all the video and all the computer nets and all this and that. Yeah, somewhere that will change, but in your previous question, in 20 years from now, I don't think it will change that much in 20 years.
That's the end.
And would I adapt to in the way of thing to that if that's all there was? I would probably prefer something else, but if that's all there was, I'd say, okay, let's give this a try.
Fair enough. Well, Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charles. It's been fun.